So I actually finished this video on 6/17, but when I was rendering it down I decided to check the patch notes for the demo on Steam to make a few script adjustments, and I saw that Selaco had another update, which meant that I had to scrap everything and start this project from scratch, so fuck me I guess.
I have been patiently waiting for this, legs crossed, ass planted in my computer chair with my lips sewn shut to keep from blabbing on about it. Granted, that's because it was under an NDA for what feels like a fucking eternity. Pulling the strings behind the developmental curtains is a small team going by the name of Altered Orbit Studios, henceforth known as AOS, which is a group of talented individuals who I'd never heard of until about a year ago, and I've been kicking myself in the ass for not supporting them earlier on.
I'm kicking my ass!
For the past 2 months, I have been taking notes, documenting what I do and don't like, analyzing it, and really critiquing what I think is great and what I think sucks. Either that or I've been counting all the times that I've seen a G-Man Easter egg, which, for the record, are seemingly everywhere, along with another Easter egg featuring which was seemingly removed. I'm gonna be honest, I was a little sad about that. There was a small demonstration that was released among the patron crowd, and you bet your ass if I could have made a video about it then and there 2 months ago, I would've. There's just something about this, something joyful and bouncy. It's bright and colorful. The sprite work and voxels are beautiful. You can just kinda see it when you boot it up. Also, this music is fucking wonderful. There was passion behind this, and a lot of it, from the entire team, and if that sort of passion means anything to you, then you should consider subbing to their Patreon. Links in the description. I feel like this demo paints a picture of a finished product that is so drastically different and lively compared to other shooters built on archaic engines of similar age and functionality, like Duke 3D. Either that or games that were deliberately developed to feel like a time capsule, like Ion Fury. Those are just examples, but GZDoom is, in a nutshell, just a heavily modified version of id Tech 1, which itself was very similar to the build engine, though for its time it wasn't quite as advanced. As a result, Doom, Duke, Shadow Warrior, Blood, Hexen, and Heretic, all these games tend to feel similar, and it's pretty easy to get mixed up what was built on what if you don't really have any prior knowledge of that. They all share these weird 90s quirks like slidey movement and shitty mouse controls for their time, and though they all differ from game to game as required by the mechanics of each title, which themselves are only separated by slim strings of ones and zeros, they all existed under the universal banner that was, for a short while, known as the Doom clone. Except that Selaco doesn't feel like any of those games, and the fact that it's running on GZDoom blows me the fuck away, because it does things with the engine that I didn't even think were fucking possible. God, this is fucking beautiful. For starters, it's one of the few boomers that doesn't actually encourage you to be perpetually sprinting at Mach fucking 5. I mean, yeah, you can play it that way, but you're liable to have a bad time because the AI is so goddamn smart that it might even be sentient, dodging and rolling, strafing, even hiding from you and flanking you, communicating with other units in the area, actually functioning as a group. As opposed to a cluster of sprites aimlessly running around with no real pathfinding, mindlessly attacking you and each other at the same time, the AI is really good. This isn't a stop-and-pop shooter by any means, but the fact that the game allows you to manipulate certain objects in such a way as to conceal yourself from enemy fire, that tells me that zooming and booming might not be the cure-all for a gunfight. Selaco wants you to play by its rules, which are strikingly different from the rules of games that it shares a set of skin with. Selaco has a lot more in common with Fear than I think it does anything else, mostly in its AI, which, as I've already stated, is incredible. You can see the Doom influence through the sprite work, which is beautiful, though I do feel like it gives off more of a Duke 3D vibe because of all the interactivity. The clever placement and usage of voxels makes me think of Blood and Shadow Warrior. I feel like Brutal Doom played a large role in this game's visual style, mostly in respect to the arsenal that Selaco provides the player with. The lethality and the sound design of these weapons is off the fucking charts. I mean, would you just listen to this fucking shotgun? Jesus fuck, it's just erection-inducing. Even if this is just a tiny little demo, it feels good to play. And that word, that right there, that is what is on the forefront of my mind. I wonder, is it the guns? Or maybe it's just all the animations, which are absolutely beautiful. I mean, would you just look at this? Look at this. This is GZDoom. Maybe it's the movement allowing you to breeze around the game world with mobility and ease, but it'll just as quickly punish you for poor positioning. I feel a closeness to these kind of games. There's an intimacy here, fueled by nostalgia and childhood memories. Staying up way past my bedtime and sneaking down to the living room where the family computer was so I could play because my mom didn't like video games with such graphic violence. And it almost feels like this game was designed specifically to capture that feeling. It's the game that's special, not just a monster here or a level there. It's the music and the sound design, the artistic style and the atmosphere that's established in the immediate. The scripted sequences and the set pieces, followed by the explosions that are just blowing this place apart that showcase the particle and the lighting effects. Every single part of it is wonderful and intricately designed with love and care, with a nostalgic passion for preserving that 90s shooter experience, while simultaneously amplifying it infinitely further than hardware from 30 years ago ever could have. This tiny little vertical slice that's still likely subject to change has shown me yet again that the size of the studio does not dictate the quality of the game, or the skill of the developers. Dawn, the player character, wakes up in a med bay, recovering from some sort of injury or illness. That information is never disclosed. You can hear the commotion outside in the halls. People are screaming, the power is flickering, and the entire station is rattling from the explosions. One specific blast jams the door, to which Dawn responds by kicking it out like a fucking queen. You are dazed and confused, and unarmed. You don't know what's going on, you just know that you gotta get out, and you gotta get out quick. Unfortunately, before you can even collect your thoughts... So you crawl through this vent, you turn this valve, and then you find yourself cornered. Congratulations, now you're playing Selaco. Now, as I said, the size of the studio does not dictate the quality of the game, and there's a staggeringly large amount of quality here. And the first thing I think really demonstrates that quality is the guns. So let's start with Cricket. Okay, so it's actually called the Roaring Cricket, but personally I think that name is kind of dumb. Regardless as to whether or not there's some kind of story behind it, that name just doesn't do it for me. This is a standard pistol. It's straight and to the point. Primary fire is a single round, alt fire is a 3-round burst that'll kill your lower soldier provided all 3 rounds manage to actually connect. Usually. You gotta be able to hit things, and I'm not really all that good at that. It's impactful and punchy, significantly stronger than it may appear at a glance. That's probably why ammunition for it is rather uncommon compared to something like the rifle. And if I were a betting man, I'd say that's probably why I can't seem to hit a goddamn thing with it.
To your local agency.
It is a bitch and a half to fire this thing. I can't say that the amount of precision required is any form of bad design, since I genuinely feel like it's my own fault when I miss my shots because my mouse hand is just too jittery, and giving it any kind of aim assist would just set it off balance. It kicks harder than a black belt on steroids, but it's just precise enough to require a chunk of effort if you want to actually hit your mark. And while you will 100% be pounded into submission when you inevitably miss, its damage output is high enough to justify the drawbacks. It's a fun weapon to use, and I frequently try to force myself to use it so I can kind of get better with it, which usually ends up with me getting my dick stomped in the dirt. I fucking love this thing though. The sound design is just so good. Now, the assault rifle. I think the assault rifle is another strongly designed weapon to the point where I'd say it might even be the best weapon in the entire demo. Mostly because there's ammo just kind of lying around for it everywhere. The assault rifle does kind of feel like it fires paper clips every now and then, and by that I mean it sometimes feels like they're just not dealing any damage, but that is entirely not the case. Much like the cricket, there's an element of precision to it, albeit significantly less. The assault rifle is pretty standard, it is adaptive, and could also excel at any real range. You can fire at full auto, but you're gonna learn real quick to not always do that. While it doesn't kick hard like the cricket, the spread does increase more and more the longer you hold down the trigger, which, as you can already imagine, can be a bit of a problem in a gunfight. In other words, you kinda wanna pace your shots. There's no need to perpetually break your fucking finger on the trigger. Full auto is bad unless your target's right in front of you. It's hard to hit things because of all the particle effects. And then you got the shotgun. There's not really all that much to say about it. It's fucking perfect and its range is incredible. You know, call me crazy, but I think this thing might actually be a little too good. Also, this is a fucking placeholder. Weapons are a core mechanic of any shooter. Who'd have thought it, right? But they're also the first pillar of success, and if that crumbles, then the rest of the experience just kind of topples with it. Bad guns tend to create bad vibes, so... But I genuinely think all of these guns are great. They put a smile on my face, and that's honestly enough for me. I realize now, however, that I've only briefly mentioned the particle effects and all of their CPU abusive glory. They are fucking beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. 10 of 10. That might also be a factor in some of the performance issues that the demo has, but I'm willing to bet that that has a lot to do with the fact that this demo is, well, exactly that, a demo. So it has a few hiccups here and there, especially when there's 7,492 fucking props on the ground, and even when you turn the decals down, which is supposed to decrease both the quality of the decals and their duration, the game just doesn't really seem to give a shit, so it renders them anyway. That's likely an oversight, and that's not even a complaint either. I couldn't give a fourth of a fuck about having the particles maxed out, though. This looks like a dream. God, I love this gun. The AI is really good, probably smarter than me, which isn't really setting the bar that high, but you get my meaning. On higher difficulties, this game is punishingly hard. Enemies are smart and fast. They're sharp shots who are, in my own experience, 3 times more accurate than I could ever dream of being. Perpetually grinding what little confidence I had in myself as an avid connoisseur of shooters from any camera perspective into a fine powder that they probably snort every time I die, especially these guys. You see him? Fuck that guy. Fuck the shotgunners. I love them, but I'm also inclined to endearingly hate them because they're the only things that have the capability of stopping me dead in my tracks. The standard soldier isn't anything to worry about, they're mostly just cannon fodder, really. They can be pretty lethal, but the trick is really just learning how to handle them properly, which really just means don't let them swarm you and definitely don't let them corner you, because they come equipped with an assault rifle and a deadeye, depending on the difficulty. That's not to say that you don't have a few tricks up your sleeve, too. Dawn comes equipped with a dash and a slide ability, which is awesome, and I'm sure that there's already a few YouTube savants out there who can speedrun the demo in 6 seconds flat with their tongue stapled to their dominant hand using nothing but the slide attack, but this is the best I was able to do. One of these days I'm gonna figure that out. On another note, the soldier is actually the first enemy I was able to get a real close look at using some console commands. I really like the sprite work for all the enemies that you encounter throughout the demo. They're all easily identifiable by color, and you can tell what's what from a good distance. I mean, look at all the detail that went into the sprite work for this soldier here. I don't know, I think it's cool, but whatever. There is one very special enemy type that you only see once, unfortunately. Now, I don't remember what they're called, so I'm just gonna call them the flying prickbacks. Also, they explode like a fucking grenade if you get too close to them. There is so much atmosphere in this demo, something I briefly touched on in the beginning of this video, but that was merely the narrative portion of it, which is limited at best, given that I'm almost certain that the narrative isn't even fully finished yet. Atmosphere in a sense of taking the extra steps necessary to create a convincing world that feels like it's living and breathing. For no reason other than why the fuck not, everything is interactive. This whole ass pizza, I can eat the whole thing myself, and this glass, fuck your diningware, I'ma chuck it. And there goes another one, just cause I can. And here's a better example. This bottle of soap that someone used to flog their log while playing JBTV? I wonder what's behind this wall. Oh, it's just a neckbeard cave. Cool. I swear to God, if I'm standing in nut, of course the bottle's empty. What the fuck was I thinking? I mean, I'd much rather keep my hands clean of 2.5D pixel jizz, but the option's always there. Almost everything you see can be manipulated in one way or another, whether it can be destroyed like a trash bin or a breakable crate, or it's an object that can be physically grabbed and thrown. I mean, there's even a fucking Roomba you can pet, and every time you do, he starts spitting out hearts, and it's just, just look at him, he's so cute. It's that attention to detail, the extra scoop of effort that wasn't even really necessarily necessary. It only exists because it's fun, and it helps flesh out this 2.5D world into something that feels a bit more three-dimensional and flavorful. And I really like that concept. There's no unwritten rule in game development that says you can only have fun or visuals, especially in this genre, given that there's a multitude of shooters that look fucking fantastic, but are just subpar at best. There's nothing really special about them. They just occupy space, and more often than not, I derive absolutely nothing from the experience. Sometimes a more subtle approach to what is or is not fun is required. Being able to pick up a mug and chuck it across the room is just fun. Sometimes petting a vacuum Roomba is fun. Also, apparently this is a motherfucking placeholder, and ultimately that's really what this demo is to me. It's just fun. It has a goal in mind and it does it, plain and simple. It doesn't beat around the bush or overstuff itself with unnecessary mechanics to be as innovative or as creative as it can be. It just takes the framework and foundation of what a standard shooter is and it amplifies it for nothing other than the sake of your enjoyment. This will never not be cool. Listen, I don't know who you are, but this game already had me chubbing from the gunplay alone, but the sweet sound of your testosterone-fueled voice is enough to make me fucking pass out. Sliding through these little Roomba tunnels is always fun. Unfortunately, they were removed in the last update, for reasons. Why? The game follows the same patterns of old. Shoot thing, find key, use key, move forward. And in that sense, it's pretty easy to breeze through this on lower difficulties, assuming you can withstand the might of the AI powerhouse that controls all the monsters in this game. There's one gunfight in specific that really sticks out to me, and I'm not completely sure as to why, but I really like this. I don't know why that was so cool. It just puts a smile on my face, you know? You might have noticed that I haven't really mentioned anything about a story, and that's because, for the most part, it's virtually non-existent. There are slivers of a narrative here and there, but there's nothing really concrete or set in stone, and nothing that's fleshed out, basically. There are little tidbits of environmental hints as to what's happening through NPC logs that you can find scattered around. Things that mention stuff like a close friend of Dawn's, or someone's having a baby, and people are congratulating them via text log. Little things like that, which adds a lot to world building. Unfortunately, that's about all there really is to this demo. There isn't really anything else to talk about. I did read something about a new level, and believe me when I say I no-clipped around to try and find a secret entrance or something, but I came up with nothing, unfortunately. I may have been misinformed about that, or at the very least, maybe I just misunderstood. I could have sworn there was supposed to be a part of the Steam demo or something, but I guess I'm just fucking losing my mind. What else is new?
Looks like I'm gonna have to teach you some manners.
Stop! I can only take so much! Oh my god, stop! You're cool, I get it. The demo ends with this spectacular boss fight near the exit of the facility, and I figured maybe you guys might want to see how many times I got my shit pushed in by this boss. Yes, that minigun is as loud as you think it is.
You can't hide.
So yeah, that's about how all of these fights went. Finally, with a bit of patience and 50 cc's of divine judgment in the form of shotgun shells, the Juggernaut goes down and I'm free to leave this godforsaken place. And what sucks about all this is that all this did was just make me want more! Fuck your fucking trash can!